Hi guys, this is LoveCast the BL podcast, and we're your hosts, Pixie, Kayla, and Alexa.
Hello.
Hey.
Today, we are doing this a little bit special because we have something to talk about, and we felt like we needed to talk about it now. If you haven't been living under a rock, you would know that the Raikan FanCon was happening at the end of August. But just recently, we got an announcement that it's not happening. It's been cancelled. And this came as a shock. Like, we all had tickets to go see this. And we did an interview with them, and they seemed like they had everything under control and all that. So the news that this came out, especially after the fiasco with the Pinoy BL Festival, it just shocked us.
Yeah, and unfortunately it seems like the more stuff we are hearing from like the artist managers and the artists and stuff like that, it seems like the facade that they were putting out, that they had everything ready to go, was much more of a facade than any of us really realized it was, which is, very disappointing, just because, we had talked to them, and like after speaking to them, like I genuinely believe that like this was going to be very, very different than the Pinoy BL Festival that had happened, just a little over a month ago.
Yeah.
And, Raikan Topani Philippines was very quick to come out after the Pinoy BL Festival happened and assure people that, they were handling their shit differently. But in the end, it doesn't really seem like it was all that different. Aside from the fact that the con didn't happen, as opposed to Pinoy BL Festival, which just put on a shit show.
Yeah, at first I was like, okay, this isn't as bad as the Pinoy BL Festival, because that festival, they had people fly in and had like a train wreck. But after all the details coming out, and we'll go through it in a bit, but after all those details came out, this is way worse.
Yeah.
Than
in many ways,
the festival.
yeah.
Way worse. And I a little bit thank God that the Pinoy BL Festival happened, because I think because of that, the actors that are involved in the project probably were more careful and demanded like payment before they went. And 100% this got cancelled because they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think that they probably relied a lot on what they would bring in from ticket sales, and they were probably not hitting that mark. And, the prices, it was not a cheap con to go to. I remember Kent C. Reacts had shared the price that he paid for like the VIP ticket, or I don't know if it was Kent, or he had retweeted something with someone showing the price that they paid for the VIP ticket, and it was something like 16,500 Philippine pesos, which is like by no means is not a cheap price. And even the lesser expensive tickets were like, not cheap. And factoring in the amount of people who would be able to afford that, I think they just probably were relying solely on their ticket sales, and money, I guess, that they would make from merch and stuff during the con, and obviously they were not hitting those numbers that they needed. So it's like, but it's at the same time, it's like you have to, like, if you're relying solely on ticket sales to put on a con, then like maybe you shouldn't be trying to put something on at the scale that you were trying to put it on. I think that maybe it could have been a different story if they just focused on like one actor or one couple, but maybe not with some of the other information that we know about, like the Two Moons fan meet that they tried to do and stuff like that.
But I thought the Two Moons didn't happen because of the pandemic.
Yes, but did people ever get their money back from that?
Yeah, that's a different thing. Like,
yeah.
Okay, but first we should probably some people might not know what actually happened. So what happened was that we woke up to a message from one of the managers, Ja and first manager Alex, tweeted about how, and someone who listens to the podcast added us on the tweet. That was how we saw it. So she basically said like everything is on hold because they can't get an answer out of the organizers. They don't know what's happening. Like no one is answering them. And we were just like, okay, this sounds weird. Like at first I thought like, okay, maybe it's like she's blowing air out of nothing, like misunderstanding or something, like she should just wait. But we tried messaging them ourselves, since we have like a contact email from when they were guests on our podcast. And we didn't hear anything at first. And then I saw the president of the organization privated himself on Twitter. And we were following him, so we still could see his account, and there was nothing there. And then the thread Raikan Philippines had on their Twitter pinned with all the information about the con, that got taken away. So suddenly that was gone, and I went onto their web page and checked if you press buy ticket, what happens. Page 404 not found. And at that point, I was just like, what the
Things are
fuck?
looking a little shady. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And then, Alex was the first one to say something, but then I think also Yin and War posted statements basically saying the same thing, like they were putting things on hold because they didn't have any further updates, and then Up's management did the same thing. And then there was also like comments from Karn that had been deleted on their IG posts, like asking people to contact them about the payment, and then that happened as well. There was another thing I wanted to comment on. And then we, Heather, who had been the one that had reached out to them to like see what was going on. We had also DM'd James on his Twitter account since he followed us there, and we never got a response. But Heather woke up and checked her email, and we had an email from them basically saying, due to the situation at hand, can you please take down our episode, your interview regarding the Raikan Company Philippines. And that was like, we appreciate your timely response in this matter. And that was it. And this is before they had sent anything publicly to the fans. I think at that point, a lot of the managers and like their ambassadors still didn't entirely know what was going on. But, we had this email asking us to take down the video. And so we tweeted about that because we, were transparent with the fact that we had reached out to them. So we wanted to be transparent about the response that we got. And I think it was like a couple hours later that they put out there, it wasn't even them that put it out. It came first from Alex that the con had been canceled.
Yeah.
She was the first one that tweeted something about the con being canceled. And then like some other artist management did as well, and some other people who were involved started putting out statements about it. And I think by the time I woke up yesterday morning, they had put out their statement that the con was canceled. And so they were basically, after everyone else had already known that it would canceled from the managers, they put out their statement.
Yeah, they put out, like, the excuse was that they wanted to tell the artist, the management, that before anyone else. But the issue here is, like, the transparency should have happened earlier. Like, they should have put something out, like, we're dealing with some issues, we're trying to figure them out, hold on. We will keep everyone informed of what is happening when we know something. Like, even just a simple message like that would have gone a long way. Like, a week ago, like a week before they canceled, they were posting about the merch they had, like, they wanted to sell and prices and stuff like that. So,
and when you look back at, like, Alex's Twitter, she had been quoting tweets from back in mid-July, basically saying that they were going to have to put like the fan activities that Joffers fans had planned on hold because they were not getting response from, the person who was working with them. And that was back in July, like mid-July that was happening. And so,
Damn.
yeah, it doesn't sit right with me that, the artists and their managers were not able to get in contact with whoever their contact was and get direct responses from them, but they were still posting about the tickets on social media and posting about the merch, like Pixie said, up until a couple days before this announcement had come out about things being canceled. So,
Give me
Yeah.
1 second. Sorry, I see kid and dog trying to attack kid. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Where were we? Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I was just talking about how Alex we found, like, I saw back to her tweets that she had been posting since like mid-July asking Domju, which are Joffrey's fans, to kind of put any activities they had planned on hold because they were having trouble getting in contact with their contact person for like the con. So, it goes back to mid-July that the artists and their management were struggling to get answers, but like you said, they were still promoting the tickets and the merch and all of that stuff up until
Everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It seems like Alex was almost a whistleblower in this situation because I wonder if they would have not said anything until like very, very close to the con if she even
Exactly.
tweeted about it initially.
Yeah.
that's my thought as well. Like, how long would they have been planning to keep people in the dark about it if obviously it seems like she probably got fed up with not having answers and decided to say something. So,
Yeah.
and she was also a catalyst for other artist management and artists speaking up about the situation. So yeah, it's like if she hadn't said something, I wonder how long it would have been before we had heard that it had been canceled, if we would have heard it all until like days beforehand.
Yeah, and James deactivated on Twitter just before the announcement
Yeah.
went out. And I'm just like, guys, they are saying they will refund people, but do not
Don't
believe
think that they
it.
have the money.
They
If they-
do not have the money.
I can't imagine, considering the prices of those tickets, if they don't have the money to pay the artists, pay for the photo shoots that they did, and all of that stuff, where are they going to pull the money to refund everyone who bought tickets for the con? Because, they claimed, that their funds were tied up in things, and that's why artists weren't getting payments and stuff like that, and had to resort to adding them on social media because they weren't getting responses. So if their funds were tied up elsewhere and they couldn't pay the artists, how are they going to pay for refunds for everyone who bought tickets?
Yeah. Yeah, and anyone who paid with PayPal, please go and demand your money back through the buyer's guarantee on PayPal. Like, that's the only way you're getting back your money at this point. But you do have until, I think, November before, like, deadline, before you can't do that. So just do it. You are not getting money
It's
back.
the safe bet.
Yeah.
I know in their statement
No.
they said that everyone who bought a ticket should be expecting an email on August 10th about it. So I'll be curious to see if anyone actually gets an email about the refund process and how that goes. I mean, I'm assuming, like, since we bought them, we should be getting emails if it's going to happen. So I guess we'll know if something does come through on August 10th, but yeah, I'm not counting on it.
Yeah, and
I
another
feel
thing that
Go ahead.
going along with them not paying people or refunding is that photo shoot that they talked so much about with you guys and were giggling over all the behind the scenes moments. They didn't pay a dime for that, and the expenses all went to the
Tickets.
magazine that they worked
Yeah.
with.
Like, even flying in, James flying in and everything was
Yeah.
approved by the magazine.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
it's good that they, the magazine put out a statement that, they talked to their legal team and obviously they have rights to all the photos, and they're going to release the photo book that they were planning to work with, I guess, the Raikan FanCon to release at the event.
Under the event, yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if you heard that car horn.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at least they'll be able to do that, and now they have the rights to those photos. But yeah, it's just like they talked so much about that photo shoot, and we're so proud of it, and then like it turns out that they didn't actually fund any of it. So it makes me wonder how much other stuff did they not fund, and where were they getting that money from? I guess their sponsors who they had, which I don't know. I'm assuming they're not going to get any money back either, which is like, I don't know. It's just weird that they were working with like these. They weren't working with like big companies, they were working with like smaller creators who stepped in to sponsor the con. Like the Cebu BL organization in the Philippines, I think, was one of their media partners, and small organizations like that. So like, I mean, they chose to sponsor them, and like that was their choice to become a media partner. But like, also like, it's weird that this bigger, Philippines fan organization was kind of taking advantage of these smaller organizations and taking their money.
Like a huge team as well. Like 30
yeah, he told us they had like 30, 40 people
to be there. They volunteered their time, and they said they had been working so hard. So what about them?
Yeah.
Right.
I feel bad for them because, I'm assuming like some of the people that, even we talked to probably were kept in the dark about what was going on, because we know from our conversations with people we know that are involved with the Raikan Company Philippines that there was not clear communication going on between whoever was deciding to cancel the con and people who were communicating with others in different capacities. So, I'm sure a lot of people were left in the dark up until the very last minute, just like the artist and all of the fans were. Yeah, I don't know. It's just this unfortunate cycle of, this is the second time this has happened in a little over a month. And, there were artists that were, actually, I don't know if there was overlap between artists that were, went to Pinoy BL Festival, and were also supposed to go to the Raikan FanCon, but knowing that there's been two experiences in such a short amount of time where the artists were taken advantage of by these, cons that they were excited to go to, it just makes me feel really sad for the artists and how they're going to view future international fan events. And, if they'll be open to going to them, I wouldn't blame them if they weren't after, these two experiences.
Yeah, some of the actors even responded to Raikan Company Philippines statements. So, like, we have Dome who, word for word, was like, shame on you, just say sorry. What about people who have already booked airplane tickets and hotels? And then, of course, you also have Karn on Instagram who, he basically was like, you lied to us and you said that you transferred the money, but you never did.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
people are pissed.
Yeah, that's how shady things were going on behind the scenes, and it wasn't just as simple as canceling the con. I mean, if they had just canceled the con with 3 weeks notice, I mean, it would suck because obviously people had already bought tickets and booked hotels and stuff like that. But I feel like the artists would have been more understanding if they were getting more transparency from the Raikan Company Philippines team.
Information.
And obviously they weren't, and they were being lied to about payment and that kind of stuff, which is like how like if the artists are speaking up.
When the BL festival was happening, they put out this statement where they were like, "Oh, stop saying this stuff about us. We'll sue."
Yeah.
Dude.
You guys might be the ones getting sued now, so like.
Yeah. Literally tried to set themselves apart so much from the other festival, but they had zero transparency, even though that was what they were consistently preaching about.
Yeah. I was like wondering where this bravado came from. Like, why did they have so much confidence if they had been struggling behind the scenes for so long? Like, did they just think that people would not make the connection between the two, even if they were like, I just don't know what they thought was going to happen. If they knew for however long they've known that they were struggling financially to pull off this con, like, why do they have so much bravado about it?
I think, like, for people like James, who's the president of Raikan Philippines, and Louis, who is the person behind the BL festival, I think they have, like, this grandeur thing, like, they think they can get things done, but they have no idea what they're doing, so they don't actually know that they're fucking up. So...
Yeah. I think the idea of, like, a con being helmed by a fan group, are they technically a company? I don't know really what Raikan Philippines is considered.
I have no idea.
But I think it's cool in theory, but I think if you're going to put in the idea to host a con with 54 artists, you need to have professionals there assisting you. People who know how to put on events, manage cons, manage large-scale events like this, and stadiums and arenas and that kind of stuff. And this idea that you, as a fan of BL and your crew, are capable of pulling off something on such a large scale, like, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me. And, like, yeah, I'm sure you may be capable to pull off a lot of things, but, like, not this, obviously. So it's just,
I mean, obviously they had everything under control except finances. Yeah. So, like, yes, they did, like, they physically had proof that they had everything in place. But behind the scenes, they had no control over how much money they were getting, how much money they needed. And, like, this could have easily been solved by them having, like, a financial advisor from the beginning. To tell them, like, this is what you're projected to have, this is what's gonna happen, like. And if they did it properly, they could have, like, seen 2 months ago if they were gonna be able to do this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's, like, weird about it. Is, like, this shouldn't have been happening 3 weeks before the convention was going to go off, and it makes me wonder how long they have known that they wouldn't have been able to pull it off, and were just putting off making it public. And I think that they were, you know, somehow still hoping that they'd be able to pull in enough fan tickets in the weeks leading up to the events to cover the costs that they needed. But those kind of variables, when you're planning a convention or a concert or something like that, you can't rely on such an unreliable variable to fund your payment for artists and photo shoots and all of this stuff that you're doing for the event. You can't rely on such an unreliable barrier to cover that kind of stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and where is all that money now? Because it doesn't seem like they've paid anything. Anything.
Yeah.
Whose account did it go into?
Right. Some people have speculated that this is also political because of the political climate in the Philippines right now. But I'm a little bit skeptical about that. I think it's just, like, inadequacy from the management that did this. I don't think they've had any, like, I think blaming it on the political is a scapegoat.
Yeah, I don't see that connection much.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And someone was saying that it was maybe because of the monkeypox, but no.
At this moment in time, there is no, like, spread of monkeypox in the Philippines, even though there was one reported case.
Yeah. I mean, I could have seen, you know, even saying COVID still, because it's becoming, you know, cases are on the rise again, but yeah, I don't.
But
no,
then why wouldn't you just be transparent and say that? Like, if they had a valid reason, they would have put that in their announcement. They don't have a valid reason.
Yeah, even in their announcement, like, there was no transparency. I think they just said that there were factors that got out of their control as it got closer to the event going on. Right. And I'm like, that is so, when stuff like this happens, I feel like it's not in your best interest. It was the same way with the Pinoy BL Festival. Like, they weren't transparent at all about why they weren't funding certain things, why
We're
they
just
weren't.
blaming everyone else.
Yeah, it's using excuses and being so cryptic about factors that are beyond your control. Like, that doesn't do anything to placate anyone that is upset and put out by the situation. Like, there was no transparency in that statement, and it was, in my opinion, not any better than the Pinoy BL Festival one that they put out. So except for the fact that they maybe actually apologized compared to the Pinoy BL Festival, which I don't think they apologized at all in their statement. So I don't know.
Yeah. They were allegedly blocking people as well, which is something that the festival did too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it just doesn't sit right to me that, like you said, I think, Pixie, is like they should have, as soon as people started questioning them, they should have put out something that said, we are addressing this behind the scenes. Yeah, but letting things go for a full 24 hours, and then also knowing that they were emailing like us as creators behind the scenes before they were being transparent with like artists and management, like that doesn't, like, why does my episode matter more than you filling in the artists and your ambassadors on what's going on? Like, that was so weird to me that we got that email from them before they had been transparent with anyone else. And like, I saw some of the other people who had done interviews with them had also taken them down in the same time frame that we had. So that was like, that felt so weird to me,
like
that they
we
were
would have taken it down anyways.
Yeah.
Just
because
to preface that, we don't want to hype
so
up
positive
someone.
and yeah. And like, but it was just so weird that they came to us moving like behind the scenes when they were not being transparent with anyone else who was involved in the situation. And it just seemed like, why was that your priority? Like, what was our video doing for you that you needed to have it taken down before you said anything to anyone else?
Like, it had like 400 views on it. Like,
yeah,
nothing.
Also, when they asked us to take it down, they didn't tell us either why.
No,
they just asked
they were just like,
for it to be taken down.
It was like, due to the current situation. And
What's
what
the
is
current
the
situation?
No one knows what the situation is. All we know is that people are calling you out on Twitter for not being transparent about the situation. And this isn't any more transparent.
Yeah, that being said, the manager of their socials and emails and stuff might not have known what the situation was.
That's very true. That's very, very true. So, yeah, it just seems like a mess. And it's just really, like we said, I don't know. Maybe I was naive for hoping this one would be different, but I feel like they really just had...
They had so much proof that they were doing it the right way, and they were talking about it the right way, and everything just seemed good. But I also think that's because the rest of the team didn't know how much fuck they were.
Yeah,
like, this is probably something the leader was sitting with. Yeah.
And I think, whereas we kind of knew from the beginning that the Pinoy BL Festival was going to be a shit show just because of how things started out with this one, or with that one.
Yeah,
but,
we
with this one...
already knew, like, the leader of the festival was not someone to trust, so...
I think everyone kind of knew that con was going to be rough, and it ended up being way worse than people even expected it to be. But this one, I feel like, I mean, I saw some tweets that were like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. But overall, I feel like people had a lot more trust in Raikan Talking Philippines, and the way they were being so, seemingly transparent at the forefront of things, and the way their planning was going, and like they had done more to instill trust in people. So I just think it feels a lot more like hard hitting that it's ending up this way and turning out that things were not as transparent as it seemed like they were going to be.
Yeah, and they're an organization who's been been around for a long time, so it's not like they popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm just...
And they planned stuff with artists in the past. They had been doing those online fan meetings, and obviously they must have learned that doing something online is very different than trying to plan an in-person convention. But, I feel like they had definitely had more of a presence established as like a BL hub that people could trust and get good experiences with artists from. So it just kind of makes it all the more disappointing that it turns out
and
that
the
they're
actors they were getting on to come, they are really like good actors. Like they weren't like subpar subtweets actors. They
had some
were
big names.
like established
Yeah.
actors, good names. They've been in big shows this year and formerly. So it's like there were like a trust there because they managed to get these big names. But it all went to hell.
Yeah. It's kind of like, well, if these artists for such big names were willing to trust them, then, you know, it makes you think that this is legit and something that you can trust putting your money into and buying a ticket. And obviously that was not the case. And it seems like everyone on all fronts got bamboozled by these people. And it's really disappointing to see it all come to light.
I'm so angry.
Yeah, it just sucks, dude.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. I really just don't know what to do with how this all turned out, and it sucks that this keeps happening.
I will not trust the next FanCon.
No more conventions. I will trust a convention when I am there in the audience, seeing the artists that I want to see. Like,
I mean, I can trust one in Thailand because they have been doing fan meets and everything for a really long time, and in South Korea too. They've been doing fan meets and everything is good, but I will not trust anything coming out of the Philippines, which is...
I don't even know if I'll trust things like
it's
coming
sad,
out
but
of
true.
America now. Like, I feel like all of these places that, you know, had maybe been considering doing fan meets, like getting into the game of like hosting fan meets, because places like South Korea and Thailand, like you said, have like been doing their own fan meets for a while. And I feel like, you know, this could have set a precedent for other countries like in Asia and even in the West and stuff like that. Like the idea that cons can be pulled off in those places, and I feel like now we've just been like set back very far, and I feel like people are gonna have a hard time trusting any con that comes out of like someplace like America or someplace in Europe, and I think the artists will have a hard time trusting them as well, and like that's understandably so, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do we have anything other information we need to share about this train trash event?
I mean, not as of right now, no. I mean, I think we'll keep an eye on things and see what happens with the supposed refunds and if anything else comes out from people who are meant to be involved and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like
we do want to do like a follow-up on the Pinoy BL Festival as well, so we might as well like try and just do a follow-up on both.
Yeah, unfortunately, there hasn't even been time for the dust from the Pinoy BL Festival to settle before this happened. So, yeah, we'll have to check back in down the line and see, you know, if any artists have gotten any... I don't know what the word I was looking for is. Not revenge, but not refund. Something like... I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
Compensation?
Yeah,
Compensation.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know where revenge came from.
Like Batman.
Yeah. But yeah, to see if anyone's gotten any compensation from either con with everything that went down. So, but yeah, I feel like because we did have that interview with them and had been pretty big advocates for the con, we just wanted to like speak on it and give some perspective on how we were feeling about everything that went down.
Yeah, and let everyone know why the episode just disappeared suddenly.
Yeah.
We want to be really, what do you call it, open about everything that happens. So we'll always let people know if anything happens, if we've supported something and it's gone to shit. Like,
I want to keep that support up and there for people to, you know, see.
Get your refunds.
if you can. Go through PayPal. If you went through
PayPal.
PayPal, get your money. And for everyone
Get
else,
your
I
money.
really hope that there was at least some sort of compensation for all of the expenses that were spent.
And
for
anyone
this.
who's like bought flights and hotels and stuff, look at your insurance. If you have any insurance, the insurance might cover it for you. So I would check that if I were you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No. Okay. That's it for today's special episode. Yay. Oh my
Hopefully
God.
we don't have to do another one of these for a long time.
Oh,
So let us know if like you were supposed to go to this con, if you were flying in, or if you just had tickets to watch online, and what your experience with this whole thing was. And yeah, we'll see you again in our next episode.
Yeah. Bye.
bye.